Good evening, everybody. I'm Scott Feinberg, trustee professor here at Chapman University and the executive editor of awards coverage at The Hollywood Reporter. And like you, I am so excited to be joined today by one of the most talented, versatile, and popular actresses of her generation. She's only 39, but she has been working in this business already for more than 25 years. Her credits include big studio blockbusters like 2004's Mean Girls, 2008's Mamma Mia, 2010's Dear John, edgy indies like 2009's Chloe and 2013's Lovelace, award-winning picks like 2012's Les Miserables, 2017's First Reformed, and 2020's Mank, for which she received a Best Supporting Actress Oscar nomination, and some really great TV programs, including the HBO drama series Big Love from 2006 through 2011, the 2022 Hulu limited series The Dropout, for which she won Emmy, Golden Globe, and Critics' Choice Awards, and most recently, the Peacock limited series Long Bright River, which dropped on March 13th, and in which she plays a single mom who works as a Philadelphia cop and is investigating the disappearance of her own sister. We will be screening the first episode of that immediately after this conversation. Today, I'm going to ask her about all of the above and much more, and we will close by taking a few questions from you. So without further ado, would you please join me in welcoming to Chapman and back to the Hollywood Reporter's Awards Chatter podcast, Ms. Amanda Seyfried.
This is so crazy. I feel so warmly welcomed.
Good. Well, we have a lot of people that are excited to see you. Thank you for being here. To begin with, I want to go back to the very beginning if we can. Can you share where you were born and raised and what your folks did for a living?
I'm from Allentown, Pennsylvania. I actually grew up on a college campus called Muhlenberg College, which is a pretty good college. My dad is still a pharmacist. He's semi-retired, and my mom was an occupational therapist, and she is now our nanny, so she is fully retired. But they're not in the arts, not even close.
Yeah. Well, and for you, can you connect the dots? I believe it was essentially something led to the first opportunity at modeling, which led to the first opportunity at acting. So just how did those things each happen?
I just wanted to perform. I was doing these little one-person plays in my living room and making people watch me do things. And so I needed some kind of attention, and I needed some kind of output clearly in therapy, I've realized. And then I thought modeling seemed glamorous, and I heard about it on the radio that they were doing open calls, and I got into that, and I spent a lot of money for classes when I was 10. And then I also started singing around the same time. So I was just full of energy, and I was really channeling it into singing and piano, and then many other instruments. And then the modeling stuff led me into acting. So I kind of did all that simultaneously, and the acting really was just so challenging that it kind of consumed me, that I needed to be better at it, and I needed to get a job. And it was weird because I was only 15, but I had a drive, and I still do. I gotta get this energy out somehow. I mean, this is the way I found it works best.
Well, let's talk about, so your teenage years, you started, and this is kind of probably not that different from a lot of other young actors in New York, right? But let's just say day player on Guiding Light, series regular on As the World Turns. These are things that used to exist called soap operas. Then a few episodes of All My Children, a guest spot on Law & Order. Like, this is the New York, like, paying your dues thing as a young actor. How did your day-to-day life look? Because you were you still in kind of regular school?
Yeah, I graduated high school, and I missed like 80 days of my last year. But for me, for a non-academic, for somebody who's just really doesn't get it, I did what I needed to do, bare minimum, and then I was in New York the rest of the time, and I was on All My Children most of my senior year, so I was just back and forth, and I actually got an apartment while I was 17 in high school.
That sounds pretty
and
cool.
had my first boyfriend and was kind of staying overnight in his apartment too. And I was still in high school. It was just weird and cool. But, and I got that liberation and freedom of living on my own in New York City.
Oh yeah, what do they call that? Emancipation of like a formal.
I didn't get a formal
No,
emancipation.
okay.
In fact, my mom had to chaperone me on Mean Girls.
Oh, really?
Yeah, even though by that point, it was September of 03, so I had graduated in June.
Ironically, correct me if this is wrong, but I did go back and read some old stuff. You were subjected to some Mean Girls as a kid yourself?
You've been in high school.
Yeah.
What about middle school? You've been there too, right? You guys know. I think I found a way to make it easier to deal with the drama and the tension and the ridiculous fights that people would have for things that they would feel bad about now. And I got in trouble by my friends for like not telling them a secret and it just stupid stuff that was traumatizing, to be honest, that by the time I was in 10th grade, I'd already kind of adopted this, like, I was already kind of looked at as a stupid girl. My Spanish teacher called me Anita a la Astronauta. You know when we have to like choose names? She added the Astronauta thing, which is so fucked up. It really like, she helped me feel less than. And I felt like it was safer to stay out of the firing line if I just didn't know what was happening. I would still gossip, but I wouldn't get caught. And that was Karen. And I didn't know that at the time until I was on set. And I'm like, I've been playing this role for so long.
Well, before we dive into that, you were, I believe at one point, going to take a break from acting. I don't know if it was specifically to go to college or what was going on.
No, that was a forced break. I was kicked off. I was written off with my boyfriend at the time and this other incredible actor the same day.
This was written
so
off the
dramatic.
soap or?
Soap, yeah. It was my first real contract role. Like Guiding Light was kind of recurring and I sucked and they fired me like really quickly. But this is when I really honed my skills. I was memorizing 10, 15 pages a day of dialogue and my brain was sparking and it was just so exciting. And I was Michael B. Jordan, remember him?
Of course.
I was his first on-screen kiss, maybe even kiss.
Yeah.
And it's really fun to see where, he clearly caught the bug too. But it was really devastating because I was having so much fun getting paid $1,000 a day and working like 3 times a week for a 17-year-old like that. I bought a lot of food and like Christmas supply. It was like random stuff, but I couldn't let it go. And I was like, okay, well, no one's ever going to hire me. That was always my thing. No expectations. I was lucky enough to do that. Now I got to go to college. And I got into Fordham and I went to my first class, but I was late. And there was nobody there. And if you know the campus at all, it's eerie when it's empty. And all the elevator bays were it was empty. And I called my parents and I was like, I'm going to be late for this class. This is ridiculous. Everybody's going to look at me and I'm going to feel stupid. And my mom's like, just go upstairs and see what happens. And then my dad was like, go home, it's fine. You keep acting. And I was late because of my last audition for Mean Girls. And I got the role the week later. And I was just like, okay, thank you, universe. But also I worked my ass off on those auditions.
It's amazing, though, you think how different life could have been if one decision went a different way. Like,
if Mark Waters was like, she's not our girl.
Right.
Would I feel like a piece of shit? Maybe for a little while.
Yeah.
But I do believe that if you have the energy and the drive that I've always had, that like generator inside me, it's going to happen.
So Karen, the ditziest of the trio of Mean Girls known as the Plastics, who believes her boobs can predict the weather, you're working from a script by Tina Fey. And I believe, though, correct me if this is wrong, did you originally audition for the part that Rachel McAdams played?
I did, yeah.
And were you also considered for the part that Lindsay Lohan played? Was that?
No, she was already cast.
She was okay.
And then I flew to LA for the first time with my mom and stayed in in Studio City, and then we went to Hollywood Boulevard, and we're like, taxi driver, please take us to the tourist traps. And the next day we had it was a screen test, and they paid for my flight, and it was crazy because it was Lindsay Lohan, who I knew, and Parent Trap, huge, and Lacey Chabert, who I knew from Party of Five, and Blake Lively, who I did not know because she was new just like I was, and then me, and I played Regina as this like psychopath serial killer. And Mark Waters thought that was interesting, and I worked so hard on that audition, and I was like, this is amazing, and I didn't get it, but they called and they were like, we'd love to see you again to audition I'd love to get you in this movie. And I was like, I don't believe that guy. Okay. And then I did, and then I worked my ass off on that. I was like, oh, this is more like a Marilyn Monroe thing, and I had help.
Would you have ever, I guess basically, did you have to see the finished product to believe that it would become this kind of a movie that people are still enamored with 20 plus years later, or would you have known that even just while making it?
I expectations on the floor.
Yeah.
I was just like happy to be working, big check.
Yeah.
And time of my life, the most free food I'd ever seen in my life. Truly, it's, movie sets. It's absurd. And most people steal it. Yeah. Still do. And yeah, I don't know. It was just a movie that I really enjoyed, and it came out, and I was like, cool, this is a premiere. We're like my own clothes that I bought, and then it was a hit, and I thought, oh, cool.
What happens now?
Yeah, and people would run into me, like kids would be like, yeah, can you tell us what your boobs are thinking? I got that so often, but I didn't mind it.
Yeah, no, I mean.
Yeah, I was just like.
They knew who you were.
I did my job good enough, I guess. Right? Guys, these boobs, that's not real. But they believed me, and that's my number one job, is to get people to believe that what I'm saying is true, bottom line. And I still feel like I can do that.
Absolutely. Well, it seems like off to the races from there, right? Because that comes out in 2004. That's the same year you start on Veronica Mars, which was a pretty important and popular show. And by the way, again, had you also auditioned for a different part than you ended up playing on that? Or had you been considered?
I think we all auditioned for Veronica.
You did, okay.
But I didn't think anything. Yeah, they hired me as Lily.
The murdered best friend.
Yes. Which ended up being really, I worked a lot.
Yeah.
It was really fun. Kristen and I I had a lot of fun with her and the two guys, and everybody was great. It was shot in San Diego, so I just took that drive all the time.
Yeah.
Fall asleep in the car on my way sometimes, put up down the window, and I remember those days that were fun. And I also auditioned for Big Love that same pilot season, and so because that was contract and Lily Kane was recurring, I was able to do both, which was just what a dream.
So Veronica Mars, you were on between 2004 and 2006. Big Love between 2006 and 2011, playing the rebellious daughter of this polygamist.
Rebellious.
That, as one does, of course. What was it like? I mean, in that case, I think it was the first time, like you did 11 episodes of Veronica Mars, but this is a lot. I think this was 40 plus, something like that with Big Love over the years. Did you like being, playing a single character for that kind of amount of time?
I didn't, because for a myriad of reasons, one of which I was definitely in the background a lot of these shots, and I would be missing out on auditions, and I'd be missing out on social activities, and that was fine. I mean, I really love being on set. Like I said, the free food. If you saw a picture of me when I was that age, you could tell I was overeating, which is fine. It was just exciting, and I think I knew that this was not. It didn't feel right, and I think a lot of us felt that way. But we were all the kids, and I really loved them. I'm still tight with so many of them, but yeah, I was going to do this Warner Brothers movie that was a big tentpole movie with Zack Snyder, and it was just a female cast, and it was a huge experience that I couldn't, they wouldn't let me out for. I was like, because I'm holding babies in the background, and I kept saying that as if I was knocking on the show, and I wasn't. I mean, they were like family to me, but I'm like, if you're not gonna, there's not enough room for all of us to have like crazy big arcs in every episode.
And during those TV shows, both of them, I guess, intermittently, or during hiatuses, there were a number of post Mean Girls movies, not necessarily of that profile, but like people should go and see 9 Lives. That was a very well done movie.
It's beautifully shot.
Yeah.
I mean, for a filmmaker, I mean, it's beautifully shot.
Yeah.
They were all in one take,
Yeah.
and
a bunch of like vignettes and
great
Alpha
actors.
Dog the next year. So that was 05 and then 06.
Yeah.
But in the midst of that big love period, you get your first leading role in a film, the lead, to be like the lead, right? How did Mamma Mia come about?
Oh my God, lots of work. I know, right? I can't fucking believe that I got that role. I knew, you know what they kept saying? Phillida Lloyd would keep saying, like, your face, you were just so in love. And she was right. I was so in love with the music and the possibility. And I had seen the show with my boyfriend at the time in Vegas, and I was just on my feet. That it just made you happy. And I kept coming back and back. I mean, there's just so many auditions for certain things. Even now, even these days, I still have to audition like 6 times for every musical. And it was just the process really like nailed in how life-changing it would be, and I would have been devastated. Like, my expectations were low, but I still put so much work into it, and it felt like it was something that I should be doing and could be doing. And
you could use your singing that you'd done.
Oh my
before
God,
and
so
all that.
fun. And with I had stopped singing for a long time. I hadn't sang since I was 17 or trained. And here I was 21. It was the moment. Like, I remember getting the call and just being like, this is it. My life is changing. Meryl Streep is going to be working as my mother. And it really is like, that was the moment.
Did you take anything away particularly from being around her?
She's very observant. She's very respectful of each crew member's jobs. She knows exactly what they need from her. She's always on time, and she clearly enjoys the process. And that's the best of those are my favorite experiences, when people are like, yes, I miss my kids. Yes, it's raining and it's freezing and I don't want to be naked in this scene. But like, how lucky am I? And she seems like one of those people that never takes it for granted. And being around, I mean, not only her though, everybody.
It's a hell of a cast.
Yeah.
Okay, so out of that, you have a whole new profile, a whole new kind of career. And it seems like you decided, I would assume that these could have been in the works before Mamma Mia, but maybe not. There were a couple of very different than Mamma Mia type roles that were right after. You've got Jennifer's Body as the assassin of a cheerleader who becomes a zombie, right?
Is she dead?
Who knows?
We don't know. We might need to see Jennifer's Body too. What do you guys think?
Yeah. That's Karin Kusama, very good filmmaker. And then also another very good filmmaker, Adam Agoyan with Chloe.
Yeah.
That was both in 2009. I remember, though, being at the world premiere of Chloe at Toronto Film Festival and trying to compute, wait, this is the same person who was in Mamma Mia? Who's there? So was there a concerted effort to...
Yes.
Yeah?
Completely deliberate.
Okay.
Absolutely. I was like, this is an opportunity that if I don't take, I might continue to be pigeonholed as the young, in love, romantic lead, which, by the way, that's great. It's great. But, challenges are our friends. And I deliberately took that role because Adam Agoyan's a genius, and because it was going to put me in a completely different category in the industry. It's just like, you just want to trick people. Yeah. And you're like, hi, look at me here. Wait, look, I'm over there now. You didn't see that. You didn't see that coming. And it's helped tremendously with the trust that filmmakers have in me.
After that, I think people, maybe because they'd seen that range and because, Mamma Mia had been such a hit and you were clearly on the rise, there were, I think, 3 movies in 2 years that you would call big studio kind of, productions and glossier kinds of movies, whatever. So I'm talking about in 2010, Dear John and Letters to Juliet, and 2011, In Time. There are people that absolutely adore these movies, but you, I think, have said that there was something maybe about that back to back to back that may have inadvertently made some directors think of you in a different sort of box for a little while. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. And I think it's also important to do every once in a while to if you have the opportunity and they want you for it, to do those because the value, international value, puts you, the list. You guys know about the lists, right? These fucking lists. And it's about value. And every time I'm casting a movie or I'm auditioning for something, it's like I fluctuate. I fall down the list. I go to the top of the second list, or I keep going back to the bottom of the first list. And it's just like, I'm lucky to be on the list at all. But it's like if you don't do these tentpole movies or at least these flashy box office hopefuls, then, you can become an indie darling, which is great, but you can't really, they'll have less faith in that you can bring people to the box office for a big movie. And that's fine. It's stupid math, man. It's like math. And it's not fair, but it makes sense for those people who are looking to fill their pockets. And Marvel's kind of the way to go. Like if you get into a Marvel movie, then you'll be like value, but like it kind of eats your soul. So you got to choose. But I think, and there are some great Marvel characters, but how often are they on a green screen?
Well, only because you bring it up. I believe it would be in that same period of time that you were offered one of those Marvel movies. You were going to be potentially or considered to be for Guardians of the Galaxy, the part that eventually was played by Zoe Saldana.
Yeah.
What was your calculation?
Yes. Here's exactly how it went. I met with James Gunn. He was awesome. I went to his office. We talked. We have mutual friends. And God, I don't know how old I was. The offer came in like within the day or two, I think. And I was sitting at my agent's house, who's still my agent, my best friend. So we're on 24 years now. And my other agent was on the phone, my lead, the negotiation agent, who's always like, give us $20 million. By the way, that's not the case for me ever. Yeah. But he's hard ass. And they were like, the offer came in. It was, I was like, I should take this, right? But this is going to be Marvel's first bomb, and I do not want to be ruined for the rest of my life. Right. Who the fuck is going to see a movie with a talking raccoon and a talking tree? Because I'm an idiot. And I knew that Jennifer Lawrence had a really hard time in the makeup chair day in and day out with that blue stuff for X-Men. Like we all knew about it. We all knew how hard it is and how, again, soul-destroying it is to spend so much time getting into character and then having 3 hours to fly. And I did not want that to be my life, and I didn't want to live in London for 6 months, and I didn't want to be a part of like a multi-picture deal, and I was like, this is very risky. Like Chris and I are going to go down in flames. And I was wrong, but I don't regret my decision because I ended up doing A Million Ways to Die in the West, which not a box office smash at all, but one of the most fun experiences ever.
And maybe, I don't know if these others would have not been possible had you done that, but there were a few of the, amidst those bigger movies that we were talking about, some really kind of low, less on the radar movies. I guess you would call them indies, that were some of the best things you did. Like, I think, Lovelace, where you're playing, first time you played a person who'd actually lived, I believe. And This was Linda Lovelace. People can Google, or maybe that's not a good idea, but that's like
she definitely has a story to tell,
Yeah.
and it was
really, but you did a great job. It didn't get a
Thanks.
lot of attention, but that was, I think, a really good showcase. While we were young, the Noah Baumbach,
yeah.
the next, I still laugh thinking about,
He's great.
there's a kind of, what was it, a dance scene with,
Yep. Oh, I remember it well.
yeah. So
With
that one, it's
Naomi
like
Watts, yeah.
hipster couple and an older couple in New York, not older, but anyway.
Yeah.
But
No,
there
it
were
was-
some really good things in that
yeah.
period. Yeah.
Yeah, I was lucky, and it felt like we were making some really bold choice. I love directors like Noah, where he's just like has a very specific point of view, and you get to play around in that, and that's really fun.
So also just after that, we're now talking about 2015. I went to the Second Stage Theater
Yeah.
in New York to see a 70-minute off-Broadway
Yeah.
show by the playwright Neil LaBute called The Way We Get By. It was starring somebody who grew up in the town next to mine in Connecticut, and he's in Bethany,
really?
I was in Woodbridge. This is Thomas Sadowski.
Insane.
And you,
Yeah.
who had not, I don't think, done theater before.
And never again, yeah.
And never again.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing you did that one, because 10 years later, I think
Two kids.
2 kids later.
Yeah.
But that was there, I guess, how would you describe the experience itself of doing theater?
Terrifying
Yeah.
and beautiful and heartbreaking and panic attacks on stage. Well, what does that do to somebody? Kills them slowly. I was challenged. I've never been challenged like that in my life. I felt like I was flying. It's like I used to have that image of that penguin flying into the water, that you've seen on Instagram. Like it's like a meme penguin, and like that's what it felt. I felt like a million miles in the sky, like I'm doing my life's work, and then other times I'm like, I can't go on stage. And apparently there's just more than not people that have intense stage fright, and there was I shudder to think. So like from now on, everything I do that's live has to be under 3 minutes. But it was yeah, we met, we became very, very close, and then like we started seeing each other like a year later, and then now we have kids.
Well, you talk about the challenges and pressure of doing things live, which reminds me that I've just glossed over another thing that involves some live performing, which I don't know how I did, which was Les Mis, the movie.
I sing better than that. I sing better these days. I promise you, that was not. I did not have the diaphragmatic breathing just went out the window once we started rolling, and I was like, oh God, what? So strange. It's feeling that my life. It was just no, thank you.
I don't think, but you're being pretty hard on yourself. People like the movie. It was nominated for the Oscar.
It's a beautiful movie.
Yeah.
It was a dream come true. I was Cosette. I kept saying, I am Cosette. I said to Tom Hooper, my first audition, he's like, okay, we're going to have you sing both. And I'm like, I don't think you want me to do that. I think it's a waste of time. He's like, okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, because I did.
Yeah.
Like sing. He left the room, the musical director and we did a little bit of on my own. He was like, yeah, it's not suitable for your voice. I'm like, no, I'm not suitable for Eponine. I get it. And it just ended up happening. Thank God. But again, if I could redo it, I would.
Do you think the fact that, like, is it actually, like, is there enough reward for this idea of, like, singing, recording live vocals on set as opposed to pre-recording and getting it to where you would have been happier?
It's incredibly rich.
Yeah.
It is so rare. It is, you connect to things in different ways when you're really acting, and you relate to things in a different way, and it is beautiful. But I think my technical abilities were not really I didn't have the stamina. I didn't have the breath work. I wasn't ready. So it really kind of got in the way of me having any kind of indulgent kind of fun. But I did just do a musical.
We're coming to that.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So it turned around.
Yeah, good.
We're good now. But go ahead.
All right, so this brings us to a period in the last 8 years that some have called the Seyfried Renaissance, and others have had other.
You're the only one.
This is an amazing run. I think maybe the launch would have been First Reformed, This
Oh,
is
yeah. Ugh.
you're playing
Yes.
Mary,
So
this
good.
pregnant parishioner at Ethan Hawke's church, whose husband is suicidal. This is Paul Schrader, who people know from Taxi Driver and Raging Bull and all kinds of stuff. Quite a character. I don't know if you remember the Zoom pandemic era Q&A, which I moderated for you with Mank, where he had some interesting commentary, but well, that's for another time. But really a unusual guy. But that movie was, I think, the best reviewed movie of 2017, and
And the best work of Ethan's career at that point.
and not so bad for you either. People really responded. Did you? What was it? Did you feel like something was different in terms of the way you worked, or the way, like, just what happened on that?
I only had 7 days to shoot on that because I was 33 weeks pregnant and I had to like stop. And I think there was something so special about that for me and for Paul and for Ethan, everybody really, because my daughter was in it. And I wasn't wearing a pregnancy suit, which I do often. And so life was happening. And so it was so real and they're sacred almost. And what was coming from me as a grieving widow, as a pregnant grieving widow, it kind of, oh God, it kind of grounded the whole experience more. Plus Paul is what a incredibly iconic director and writer, and I don't know what that was. I don't really have the words for it. I just feel like we were all working on a different kind of plane with not a lot of days and not a lot of money, and he was telling a story that not a lot of people have the balls to tell.
That same year was 4 episodes of Twin Peaks.
Oh my
The
God,
next
yeah.
year was Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again.
Yeah, that
And-
also, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Lived up to the first.
Yeah,
Who knew?
there you go. And then another one, which I feel like has got to be in that period of these last 8 years and just the whole career overall, like a pretty big deal, both getting it, doing it, and then the response to it, and that is Mank. This is David
I
Fincher
know.
directing. You're playing Marion Davies, who was a very talented actress who lived with William Randolph Hearst, and to some degree was ridiculed because of that, as most famously in Citizen Kane, where she was sort of parodied, that character Susan Alexander. But it was like for film history buffs, it was just a really interesting one because it was so faithful to the historical record of what it was like to be making movies in the, I guess, 30s and 40s in Hollywood, and just talk about how it came about, where David Fincher, who's pretty much at the top of everybody's wish list of who to work
Yes.
with, how
He's
you
still
ended
at
up
the
getting
top.
cast. Yeah.
I was working on this tiny movie that we could barely get made. We cobbled together money with my friend Amy Koppelman, who was directing it. About it was a crazy intense movie and process about postpartum depression and someone who's suicidal and horribly heartbreaking, but also beautifully told. She's a beautiful writer, and I was so in it. And then I got a call like, "You got to read the script, and you got to read it now, and you're gonna meet with David like tonight or tomorrow." And I was like, and I was like, I okay. And I was like, "Amy, you're just gonna give me an extra half hour at lunch." And I skimmed all the narration. I mean, the scene. What is, not the dialogue. What
Stage
the
directions.
fuck is that called? Sorry, I'm a little. I just got back from Vegas, for a work thing.
Yes.
And I was reading it. I was just so fast, and then I met him on Zoom that night in my apartment. I was terrified. How do you impress upon someone that you really like them, but you try to stay cool, and you really, really want the job? You kind of need the job, and you don't know much about old Hollywood, really. It's like my dad was obsessed, so I kind of did this movie for him too, and I don't know why he just was like, "Okay, you're gonna play me," and I was like, "What the? I didn't even like. Do you want to see me dance or something? Like, what do you?" And in fact, I have to leave at a certain time today because he and his wife, I haven't seen them in 2 years, and we're buddies. We're course. I'm also going to be like, so what are you doing next? And they're, so I can't be late for dinner.
No, we got it.
Not to say that they're amazing. It's just that like you got.
No, that's an important meeting. If
I
you're
also,
an actress,
I know. It's dinner. It's really just dinner.
Yeah.
But it's a good friendship because he's actually a really great, funny, amazing person. So is his wife. They make all their movies together. But he's terrifying when you're on set because he expects a certain level of professionalism, which he should. He does rehearsals because how dare you forget a line? He doesn't yell at you, but it's uncomfortable. And the process is fucking grueling.
Well, can I just ask, he is like William Wyler from the Golden Age. They are the two people most famous for asking dozens, sometimes more than that, takes of their actors and actresses. You said, I think at one point there was a part that took over a week and 200 takes. So which scene was that? How do you feel about working that way? And why do you think he does that?
I must have been referring to, well, there was a lot of scenes that took a week. I must have been referring to the scene for poor Gary, who had a monologue, and I was pregnant at the time, and I don't know if anyone's been pregnant before, but the first trimester is the one that makes you want to die. And so I was sitting there, I had no lines, but for an entire fucking week, I sat there with my hat on, and it was fun because Gary always did something. Gary Oldman always did something different, but it was that. But I also, there's some trauma happening right now. But because I also never felt good enough. There was one scene we shot for 3 days. We rehearsed for 2 days, and then we scrapped it and then reshot it somewhere else with a different kind of setup because it made more sense. And what Hurst is not on a horse anymore because he hurt his back on it the first time at the end of the shoot. And that took over, I would say, 8 days to shoot all that stuff. And then there was one scene where there was, 27,000 characters and they all had lines. So you were like, is it mine yet? I can't. Is it mine yet? You funny. And then you know what I mean? I felt like I was a clown.
Yeah.
But it made me better, and it made me, I don't know, it just made me work harder since then. And then it changed my life again.
Well, before we get into why that would be, is it the kind of thing where you're on take 68 and he says, all right, here's what you did in 67 that I'd like you to do differently in 68, or you just have to keep trying different things and he knows it when he sees it? The latter. It's sometimes, there's a famous quote that he didn't like the way someone picked up a phone in some movie, and it's that the take has to be all the things in one. He can pick and choose from different takes for sure. He's got more than anybody else in the editing room, but he wants to see it all happen in that one take, and that is called magic, and he knows he can get the magic, so he works until he gets the magic. That's from my point of view. I think that's a beautiful way of working, and he chooses the people he thinks are right for the character, and if they don't bring it, they don't bring it, and that's sad for them. But you want to bring it, and he pulls out that, he makes that generator just go wild in me, and I would do it again in a heartbeat, and I would know that I wouldn't always have the best time doing it because there's a lot of, self-loathing in the process. But that helps sometimes. I always say my anxiety helps me, even though I hate it. It does. It moves something in me in the right direction. So Marion Davies first of all, was an actress who sang and was in some very popular movies that all of which may have to some degree led people to underestimate her to an extent. Was it kind of poetic that for a part in which you're playing that person who you might have had in some ways been able to relate to yourself? I don't know. That's the one that you get an Oscar nomination for?
It is kind of fate. I kismet. Like it's a yeah. It's,
Which she never got, by the way.
Yeah.
Never got one.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely not. It was complicated. There was many things that are uncomplicated and beautiful about her, but yeah, she was a little kind of used, and I never felt that way necessarily. I had times, I mean, always dealing with something, feeling like taken for granted in some way, but I think it was pretty amazing that once you get an Oscar nomination, first of all, you have to work really hard to get it, and that's the part of the business that I still kind of can't wrap my head around, because it's just so much work, so many interviews.
And yours was during lockdown.
Yeah, thank God, because I was like breastfeeding
right.
and
would have a lot more running around. You would have.
But
had
I
to
didn't
do.
meet
Yeah.
anybody. I didn't get to go to the luncheon.
Yeah,
I didn't get to do all the fun stuff like the night before party when you're nominated for an Oscar. And it felt I had COVID when I found out.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was actually Joe Jonas was working with my husband, and he like left some wine and whiskey and chocolate and like snacks and I think some medicine at the door at the bottom of this townhouse we were staying in Georgia, because he's such a sweetheart. And I just remember being like, he was like, "Congratulations, I know you're gonna die, but here's some whiskey if you can have it." Right. And I just thought that was really sweet, because I didn't know him very well, but my husband loves him. And it was weird. It was just weird. And then, I worked really hard for that nomination, though. And then going to the Oscars, you're just like, I'm just happy to be here, honestly.
And just to remind people, that year it was held in a train station with only the
downtown
nominees, presenters, and their plus ones. Was that what?
And Brad Pitt.
And Brad Pitt, right? Yeah. Presenters. What
big moment
stands out most in your because he presented Best Supporting Actress.
For sure, yeah. I went back to the green room to get some food and some whiskey. And someone else was in the green room as well. No, but just, I'm in awe of him. He's best friends with Dave Fincher. And yes, it was crazy and really sad that we couldn't experience the Oscar moment, but in the same way. Get
another one.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm going to try. This year I'm going to gun for it. But no, it's a lot of work, and you wish the art will speak for itself, but there's also a lot of people doing great art, and so you can't have it all.
Right.
But you know what that did for me is put me in like the middle of the first list. Not the top. I don't want to be at the top. It's a long way down. But like it brought me up.
Would that have had anything to do, do you think, with how you ended up playing Elizabeth Holmes in The Dropout?
Yes, because I got the offer the next day.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, David Fincher, taking a chance on an unknown kid. Do you know that quote? Does anybody know what I'm quoting? Clueless.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
It's fine. I'm old. Whatever.
Well, so Elizabeth Holmes, when discussing The Dropout, you said, quote, "I've been working for 2 decades playing people very similar to me in different circumstances. This just unlocked a whole world," close quote. So you ended up, as I mentioned, winning the Emmy, Golden Globe, and Critics' Choice Award for that. But when it was first offered to you, the initial reaction was to say no?
Yeah, it was in the COVID day, like the days of the haze of it, that my legs were sweaty, and I thought I was dying, and I said, "I'm not working in LA. I don't want to work in it was stupid."
But you came around.
I was like, my agents were like, "You're kidding, right? Your legs are sweaty?" And I was like, "I'm just having a time right now." It was like still breastfeeding. It was just, oh my God. It was what a dream. Cause I followed her closely, the documentary, the book, the podcast.
Did you make, when you knew you were going to be playing her, I don't know, I think it was just before she went on trial, which was happening while you were shooting it. Was there any point, did you make any effort, not that you should have to, but did you decide you wanted to try to directly speak with her, or was that?
I wasn't allowed to.
Wasn't allowed.
It was legal litigation stuff.
Right.
Yeah, we weren't allowed to touch her, and every script went through a team of lawyers at Disney or whatever. Yeah. 20th Century. There's so many. Who did it?
Yeah, right.
And so we couldn't say certain things, we couldn't do certain things, we couldn't show them making love, so we had that weird dance scene because that was their foreplay. It was fine. I actually didn't want to meet her because I would have felt guilty for the times when it felt like we were kind of making fun of her, because we did do that. And I would have felt bad. I would have felt like I was duplicitous, and I don't want to feel that way. So I'd rather just not know her.
You did do a lot of other types of work, though, right? I mean, when somebody watches that, yes, the first thing everybody talks about is the voice, which I would love to hear about, but also it's the cadence, it's the posture, it's her putting her hands behind her back, and all these other things, that the walk, all the different things that really made it kind of eerie, like takes us out of thinking we're watching you, and really, like, you believe, especially if you've seen the documentary, like this is that person. So you would also come on as a producer on that one. Just like take us into what was, when you look back at that experience, what was the most kind of challenging and rewarding aspects of it?
I think the coolest part of that, and I think the thing that, it was a shortcut to her, by the way. She was so public. She was always being recorded. She was going everywhere. And I just had, it was a treasure trove of moments. And it was impossible to not, for anybody who's an actor, if you watch 10 hours of her depositions over and over and over and over again, which is obviously not public, it's just, I mean, you can get it, but it's hard. It's impossible not to mimic her. Like we are innate, like we're born to mimic in some way. And it was impossible not to have her imprint on me, because I was just constantly, it was a cycle of her sitting there and drinking her coffee and, you know, swallowing, and then, you know, saying just really like softly about, you know, her well, Sonny at this point, you know. And it's just, she had this persona, she wanted to be believed, but she's in a really hard place. People are, it's a tricky situation, and you kind of can't help but kind of be transparent in a way. Like she was trying so hard to act, but she couldn't.
I was going to say, I mean, it seems like the voice was a put on. There are other things.
Yeah.
So had you ever had an experience where you're playing someone who's really playing someone? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I just did that actually in a movie.
Another thing.
I'm like playing somebody who's playing somebody. I never really thought about that too much when I was playing her, because I think for the sake of the show, the audience needed to kind of understand what was happening. So you would see her try to put on a brave face, but she wasn't very good at it.
Right.
I mean, she was good at speaking and being charming, but if the shit was hitting the fan, she couldn't act her way out of it. People knew she was pissed and frustrated, and then she would lie her way out of stuff all the time, but she wasn't that good of an actor. And those deposition tapes were everything. But it was also when she goes on stage, it's the famous video of her and Sonny dancing, and I was like, that's how she dances.
Yeah.
Or at least that's how she dances in public, and that's everything to me. Her walk, I mean, her shoes make her walk a certain way, so you don't know what comes first. She's awkward in her body. It was so fun. It was so different than anything I'd ever done, and I really indulged in it. Sometimes it was really hard, but then Michael Showalter would all the directors would just let me go off. Like, so much of that was generated from my own fall into this abyss of her. And not to say that you would ever lose me. I'm not a method actor. I'd go home to my kids and whatever. But like with the puppet, like I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a scene with the puppet. And I'm trying I don't mean to like brag and say that. I don't want to take credit for that. But it's because I was free to do whatever the fuck I wanted, and I knew the point. He was supposed to see that she was insane and very like compartmentalizing and almost like, you know, delusional. And it was just like, and the take is over, and you're like I just did that with Paul Feig. We just wrapped a movie, and you're gonna want to see that.
This is why you were in Vegas.
You're going to want to see that movie.
That is...
wow.
It's
called The Housemaid. Yeah, it's based on a book.
Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah, it's dark as shit.
Yeah.
But when you get opportunities like that to kind of go nuts, go anywhere, because you know your character that well.
Grab them. Yeah.
And we'd sometimes, he'd yell cut, and he'd be like... wow. And I was like, yeah, he would give me a direction and I'd fucking fly.
Yeah. That's a good feeling.
Oh, I'm so happy that I can still do it.
All right. Well, this brings us to Long Bright River, which
yeah, you guys are going to watch it.
They're going to be watching it.
First episode, obviously.
First episode.
Yeah.
I have been lucky to see it all, as many people have, since it all dropped on March 13th on Peacock.
I like the binge drop.
Yeah.
I kind of love it.
Do you? Yeah. It's different because Dropout was rolled out periodically,
Yeah,
right?
just the normal way, yeah.
Well, let's just say, again, a Philadelphia police officer investigating disappearance of her own drug-addicted sister. This is from a best-selling novel by Liz Moore, who, with Nikki Toscano, adapted this. Do you know, have they told you what made them think of you for this? Because, and what made, and do you know why you connected to it? Because I guess I don't know if necessarily because of physical assumptions and things, people would assume that you would be a cop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I never got that opportunity,
Yeah.
and my best friend always plays cops and detectives, and I always wanted to put on a uniform because the costume is so much of the character, and I wanted to feel that kind of empowerment and that authority. And I know that I don't seem like someone who's very authoritative at all, even to my kids, and that's fine. Like, I have other methods of manipulating, but I understood that this was not a cop. It was a human being who happens to be a cop. And that was my in. But I took it because Catherine Pope was producing that, and she also produced The Dropout. And because it's set in a place that I never knew but grew up near, in Philly. And I just was blown away by how realistic this was written and how real. Like, this show is, you're not going to have fun. It will be fun probably if you continue the show and watch it to the end. It's exciting to figure out the puzzle. You may think you know right away. You could be wrong. You could be right. But the twists and turns really come from the family dynamic and the secrets and the trauma, the generational trauma that I think a lot of people can relate to. But this is not fun. It's realistic. It's still TV. It's slightly enhanced, but I'm bare bones in this. It hit really close to home because most people have a very, very close loved one who is in recovery again. And I lost my uncle to fentanyl, and it's just we're exploring it from inside this community as opposed to the outside of it.
And in terms of the authenticity of the portrayal, you did the ride-alongs, right? You did.
Yeah,
the
I did. I
things
saw a dead body, and I'm telling you, nope.
No, yeah.
It's not for me,
Yeah.
and it shouldn't be. And these cops they see it every day, and so every time I see a bunch of cops, there's a lot of cops here.
Yeah.
I'm always kind of in awe for the for the choice they make every day to put themselves in the line of fire, and that could be anything. That could be seeing a messy suicide, or a fight where someone's gravely injured, or a traffic stop where the person, you never know. And it's just I know we have a really, really tense relationship with cops, but in this show we are clearly spotlighting the bad fuckers, the people who are corrupt and using their authority and their power for no good. And then you see the people who are desperately trying to protect and support and look after the community, civilians, anybody, everybody. And that's just the way it is in every organization. So I love that about it. And I'm in awe of what the female cops that I went on the ride along with. They are single moms, just like my character, and they see the craziest stuff, and they have to go home at night and sleep and get up again and do it again and get a massage because the guy on drugs, put him in a chokehold. Mm-hmm. What is that?
It's crazy.
And that's real. They're everywhere.
Well, and on this one, you're also an executive producer. You, I imagine you therefore might have been part of the decision to have all 8 episodes directed by women. Right?
That decision was made
before,
long before I got on board, but it was one of the reasons I was this is definitely my vibe.
Yeah. And a lot of it's sort of, I think, not, they're totally different stories, and I'm not trying to, but for people who liked, say, which was everybody, Mayor of Easttown or something like that, like you're feeling like you're in the culture of the city, and it's gritty and it's real. And I thought it just got better as it went along. And I guess as the last thing on that, when you look back at the show, and again, many people do it all at once, like it is addictive. What are you proudest of about your own work on this one?
I guess I'm proud that I was able to be a part of creating a show where there was how do I say this? Vegas, remember? I think we are unlocking something for people who may have trauma, and not unlocking like, look, did you know that? It's more like the lens is within, and I feel like everybody can relate to not just the opioid crisis and how that's affected families and the people suffering from addiction, but also how, there's a community everywhere, and there is a resiliency to the community that we're talking about, even though it's really like people die every day in Kensington Avenue, and life is hard and they are suffering, but so many of these people are actually going to recover. And so many of these people are actually going to recover and be consultants and create harm reduction programs, like this woman, Sarah Laurel, who single-handedly, she OD'd 21 times to teach people how to use Narcan and like to save each other, to like, it's a grassroots effort. And I have more belief that we can actually help in this opioid epidemic. It's like, the more we know, which I learned a lot on the show, and I'm proud to share that with whoever is going to watch the show, because it does make you feel less alone, like storytelling and watching shows and being in it. We tell stories to feel less alone, and also to get away. And different genres, yeah, different things for people. But I'm so proud that like we were able to create that, or help create more of a space for the compassion for the people that we feel so other than, because we're really kind of not.
Well, this is one of the things that your character says to the less experienced partner, who's like, maybe it wouldn't be such a bad thing if these people, were just left alone without help.
Yeah.
And she says, no, anyway.
It's not that simple. It's like and my character grew up with a lot of the women who are sex workers to get money to support their habit. And that is just the reality of these communities that we see all the time, that we're just like, oh, I don't want to drive through that part of town. And sure, you don't want to drive through that part of town because it's devastating, of course. But we could have been them. And so how would we want to, like, we are all, like, everybody's a human being. And of course it's hard to remember that because we're just trying to stay in our lane. And, we've got a lot of balls in the air. I know you guys do. You're in college, for fuck's sake. It's like, I don't know. I can't imagine the load that you have on your plate. And so we just stay in our lane. But it's also important to understand that these, everybody deserves to have some level of respect, be respected in some way, shape, or form. And I think we do it really well. It's very special. And it's a thriller. We definitely give you little exciting twists at the end of every one. And sometimes you'll be sad. And sometimes you'll feel like, I don't know, you feel like you get it. You can relate.
We have 2.5 minutes before we're going to send Amanda off to David Fincher.
Honestly, I can be late. They're friends, really. It's just like, it's just like,
no,
it is a very,
no, we want to be respectful of your time.
But thank you.
What we will do, if it's all right with
you,
we will close with 3 brilliant questions from our students.
They better be,
which are each going to be prefaced with, very briefly, your name, your year, and a brief question, which ends with a question mark.
How about your name, your year, and what you're studying?
That too, if you'd like.
Yeah.
So I have nothing to do with this because I can't see anything, but we have people with microphones who are going to pick those 3 people, and we'll be excited to hear what they have to say. It's up to you, microphone handler. Here we go.
Hi, my name is Colette, and I'm a third-year screen acting major. And I love your work in The Dropout so much, and your whole artistry in general. But I had a question about, obviously you had so many tapes of Elizabeth to get her mannerisms down and put that into your character, but were there any other techniques that you used to get into character and implement them and then conversely decharacterize afterward? Because I can imagine that is really difficult when it's a real person and she's so specific.
I have no process for decharacterizing. It's basically like my family's like, give her a couple weeks. I don't take it home every night, but there's an accumulative effect. But I also will say my process is heavily relies on the process of my best friend who went to Juilliard, because I never really studied. Like I wish I had, but you with the balls rolling, you got to just chase the ball. But I would say my process is just to spend all the time that I have alone with this person. And every time my kids aren't around, because they really hate when I do accents or any kind of vocal work, I just speak as the person, and I answer questions in my head. I'm always driving because I live upstate and everything is half hour away. I just spend all the time. I don't work with an acting coach. I talked about it with my friend Jennifer. I send her the scripts. She'll help me find things to do while I'm listening to people, because it's not always about listening and responding. It's about remembering that some people are distracted, like remembering that there's we're all the same, and bringing my humanity and my easily distracted characteristics and my shit to her. So therefore what I'm creating is always going to be some kind of mix, some kind of hybrid, because I cannot play somebody who doesn't have pieces of me, or else I don't think I could. I think it would be not fun, and I don't think I could really sell it. So I have to always look inward and see what are the things that you do. I'm sure. I mean, you have way better process, I'm sure. But like, what connects us? What is it about her? Why do I want to honor her? Even though you wouldn't say the show is honoring her, this specific one, but I'm honoring her because I love her. And we become sisters, and then we become one on camera, and then she's my friend again. And it's so weird because you spend so much time alone with somebody that it is your creation. Even though she's a real person, I'm not playing her because I can't step in her body. It's always going to be your own thing. And like owning something, owning a creation, whether they are alive or dead or fiction or whatever, it's still your version of it. Kate McKinnon would have played her very differently, but as effective or more so. So it's like, that's why you're cast, because you have to bring yourself to it. Maybe 30%, maybe 90%. I brought 95% of myself to her, to what you're about to watch.
In Long Bright Road, yeah.
Yeah, and so be it. She's a fictional character. Like I do that sometimes, yeah. And that is how you ground something. But yeah, it's hard when you're in it for that long. TV shows are hard. This one was really hard to come down from because it was so much me. Not method, but certainly I missed her when I was done. And I missed having that relationship with my character and the relationships that she had. And I missed the crew because I'm just one of them. And I love, oh my God, it's just, there's nothing like a buzzing crew. Top of their game too. It's just like, oh, I love being an actor on screen, never on stage. No, stage is great, but I love it so much. And I hope that you get to like fly. Yeah. And if you want to ever ask me anything, I'm available. You know what I mean? I probably can't give my email, and that would be crazy, but I'm sure you could guess it. Do you know how many actors' emails are actually just their name? I got an actor's email to email him about a job that we might do together to start the conversation, and I was like, this is a fucking joke.
It's just his name.
And then at Hotmail, who is this person? But it's cute. And you know what? I'm not that far away from that. But I do really, really love, like, one of the reasons that I like doing this is that I know I'm sucking all the air out of the room by talking because you're asking me the questions and I'm answering them. But
It's great.
you know, because I like talking to people, but I also really like to answer questions because I have answers. They're my own answers, but if someone wants to ask me a question, then I want to give the
that's
answer.
great.
And it's really fun.
Well,
Yeah, thanks.
We're going.
It's interesting.
We're gonna go quickly to number 2.
Thank
Mike,
you.
Mike person. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's no way I'm going to say
Thank you so much. Okay.
it. I'm going to try.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Amanda. I'm also Amanda.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I am a first-year MFA film and television producing major, and
Amazing.
shocking, my question will be about producing. Scott kindly brought up how you are also a producer on your own projects, or executive producer, I should say. What would you say is the most rewarding part of being a producer, and what do you like best about producing these projects?
I like that. The most rewarding part is having a seat at the table before we go to filming it, and I don't know, feeling like my voice matters, and I know it does matter as an actor. Like, I feel like people trust me and want to see what I have to offer. But I think in the creation of it, before I even get on set, like my job becomes more of a leader in that world as well. So then when I do come on set, some of my ideas have been utilized, which is mind-blowing because I'm usually just an actor, but which is not to downplay my job. But, you know, I stay in one lane, and to have two hats on, I find that I have bigger boots to fill when I'm on set, because not only am I number one, which is a huge job and responsibility, like if you're ever on any of my sets where I'm number one, you're gonna be welcomed and you're gonna feel warm and you're gonna be able to make jokes and like you know what I mean. It's just like I create a really nice environment because it's survival. I want to have fun when I'm away from my kids, especially, and when I'm a producer, I have to be the one to say no, which I'm not good at, and when shit's going on, which I know we have those 4-hour meetings that everybody has to have about HR stuff, which I have to do again in a couple of days for another job. There are so many people that do not abide by those rules, and I have to be the whistleblower, and it's hard because I don't want to like get anybody mad or get anybody fired, but actually I'm a producer too. Like, if that happened under my watch, like if I'm the actor, I'm obviously going to tell everybody I know. But if I'm the producer, I can just make a call to HR or make a call to the studio head and be like, this is happening and there's a zero tolerance policy and this is what I know, because people will also talk to me. Like, people feel safe to tell me what's going on. And that's been so rewarding and definitely different for me. But I'm going to be honest with you. Some of these EP things that you see, and I don't know if this is just, I shouldn't be saying this, but the truth of the matter is I didn't realize I was an EP on my last movie until the second week when I saw myself on the call sheet. So I called Todd, the producer, and I was like, Todd, you put my name as an EP. I feel like people are going to get pissed. He's like, that's a deal your agent made. So I was not an EP on that. It's going to say it in the credits, but I did fuck all as an EP.
It is something like the Producers Guild has been trying to figure out how to deal with.
I'm honestly like, I'm not producing the next movie.
Yeah.
If it's a TV show, I developed a TV show that I am no longer going to be in, which is devastating. And I got the news last night. It's fine. If I were a man, I swear to God, I'm not. If I were a man, I swear to God, I would still be in it. So I'll leave you to discover that shit. But and also like kind of like by a friend who got me into it. Like she like pulled me into it, so we got to get it made. Because I had all the relationships,
right.
And so we put it together with all my relationships, and now
that's a stupid decision of that person.
it's a stupid decision of an entire studio.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to process it, so there you go. Thank you for being my therapist. But I think in going forward, I'm not part of the union, the Producers Guild, and if I'm not really producing, if it's just what do you call it? Putting
Vanity credit.
Vanity credit.
Yeah.
It sucks for the people who really have been, producing these projects for 5 years. So.
Last question. Make
Come on
it
over
great.
here.
Make it great. It's over here.
What did they say? Oh, sorry.
Hi, Amanda.
Hey.
My name's Sarah Jane. I am a screenwriting major. You are such a badass,
Thanks.
and I know we all look up to you, and I really look
Thanks.
up to you. You have 2 beautiful children. I've never seen a photo of them, but I assume they're beautiful, knowing you. And I wanted to ask you, like, since becoming a mother, do you feel like the industry in any way has tried to put you in a box?
Oh, right, immediately.
And like,
Yeah.
and I wanted to ask, like, the box is BS, but like, how do you break out of that? And like, as somebody who wants to work her butt off, but also eventually have kids, like, what's your advice?
There's no right time to have kids, and there's no wrong time to have kids, because your whole world changes you just lose all control for like in the best way. I think, some people just don't want kids, and that's awesome. Some people want kids, and that's awesome. And if you're lucky enough to accidentally get pregnant, which was me twice, I'm just like, thank God, because I wouldn't have planned it. I would have been like, I'm too busy, and I'm gonna disappear from Hollywood, and it's gonna be hard to get back on track. And I never stopped. I did take some months, but I think in that answer is like, yeah, do have kids. You'll make it work. And in terms of, what was the first one? Oh, the box. Yeah. Oh no, yeah, I had a kid. They like saw me pregnant somewhere, and they're like, oh, she's a mom now. And the roles, the characters that are mothers have a certain richness, have a certain experience, have a certain the spirit kind of shifts a little bit. I don't know, that sounds ridiculous, but there's something that happens to you when you become a mother or a father, when your life no longer matters as much and you can't live for yourself anymore. That sacrifice also was very enriching, and the roles got better. But it was funny how fast that happened. They're like, she's pregnant? She's pregnant. Oh, she had the baby. Oh, yeah. No, she's a mom. She's a mom now. But I did play one character where I was not a mom since then. And it didn't make a difference. It's interesting, though. There's a lot of sexism. It's going to be everywhere. It's never going to stop. But you also have to remember that, like, you also are in control of your fate, and you can make decisions, and you can say no, and you can say yes. And, like, we don't have to be under that kind of control. And it's just, things have shifted in a big way. For me right now, I'm not feeling very optimistic because my heart is breaking, but onwards and upwards, there's going to be something else.
Absolutely. Well, on behalf of everyone here, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.